Okay, so welcome back to the channel. We've got a different video this time around. We're doing a video that's car related. Now, I know 90% of you watch the channel probably to do with repairing the Haas machines and the machine inside and bits and pieces like that, which is great. But for me, it's all work related. I do enjoy doing the machines, but I'm still into my cars, and in the past I have done a few car videos and bits and pieces, and I kind of wanted to jump back into some cars just for my own sake. So if 90% of you are not here for anything like this, then apologies, but I just didn't want to do a second channel and be trying to do bits and pieces on both, because time-wise it's difficult. So I've just bought myself a car and I wanted to do some videos for it. So everybody who knows me personally or on the socials will know I've got the Fiesta, the four-wheel drive Fiesta with a Junior WRC kit, T45 cage, space frame, Cosy running gear, sequential gearbox, the whole shebang. It was I never raced it, but I built it from scratch as an out-and-out race car, and that's what it is. Now, over the last few years, I don't get time to do track days anymore. I sold my trailer. I've got a young family now, and time just doesn't allow me to enjoy that how it needs to be enjoyed, but I can't bring myself to sell it. So part of me, last year, I did remove the sequential gearbox. I took out the plated diffs. I put uprated road diffs, an H-pattern gearbox, and tried to see if I could just enjoy it a bit more and get it out on the road. But the problem being is it's still like an out-and-out race car, which is fine for me to drive on the road on my own, but I can't. I did take my little boy out in it once, but I don't think he enjoyed it, to be fair. I'm not too sure. I can't take my little girl in it. The missus won't go anywhere near it. So in that sense, it can't be enjoyed like something you can drive on a day-to-day basis. So I am that hard about selling the Fiesta and buying something else. Now, since I was young and we was all back in the car, I'm 43 now, since the car scene when we was all in it back in the day when I was sort of in my 20s, I always loved the sound of the Subaru, the WRX, the STI. I even knew someone who had a 22B, but the flat 4 Burble, the Subaru, absolutely, it just sounded awesome compared to anything we had back then, RS turbos and Cosies and bits and pieces. The sound was brilliant, and I've always fancied one, but I can't bring myself to sell the Fiesta in case I had one and then I regretted it. So I went low budget and I bought myself a 2005 WRX. Had to be blue, had to have gold wheels. I did view a black one with gold wheels, and to be fair, it was much nicer than I thought, the black, but I didn't buy that one. I bought blue one, gold wheels that you can see behind me. So I'm just going to run around the car quickly with you. Now, everybody knows, oh, Subarus, you know, the engine will go pop, the head gasket will go, this, that and the other. Now, this car's done 145 or 147,000 miles. It hasn't got full service history. It's got the original bill of receipt. The wheels were fitted from brand new. She's got the original bill of sale for the options like the wheels. Even randomly a tow bar was fitted. The brackets are still there, but not the tow bar, and the wiring's in the boot as well. So that's a strange one. Or that might have been fitted just afterwards, but it has had a tow bar. It's got various receipts. When I done a car vertical check. You always see on Matt Armstrong's video, car vertical, and all the other YouTubers do cars, car vertical. So I've done a car vertical check, and it said the car's got 4 owners, 4 previous owners. Not that it really matters on a 20-odd-year-old car, you know, I'm not buying a kind of a future classic, I guess. But anyway, when it turns out, it actually had 9 owners. So I'm the 9th owner on the car. But anyway, it's got a bit of history over the years. It's got documentation, or there's history from all 8 previous owners, and then there's me. So I've had it about 3 weeks, and it's actually not too bad. But I bought the car when the weather was like -3 about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I went to view the car in the morning, didn't think it through. When I turned up, the car was literally like frozen in time, because it's an everyday car for somebody. It's completely iced over, frosted, and it was completely white. Anyway, looked around it, sort of laid on the floor, had a bit of a look around. The owner fired it up, took me out for a spin for about 20 minutes, you know, went for a nice drive. Other than reminding yourself you're in a 20-year-old car that's a bit old and clonky like they are, and this one's probably got original bushes that have probably perished. I haven't really got under it yet, but it seemed okay. By the time we come back from the drive, the car's kind of mostly defrosted. but where it's defrosted, it's pretty much like you're viewing it in the rain, and I didn't really think that part through. So later on, when I've got it home, or they actually brought it down to me, we arranged for them to bring it down to me, and once we had a dry day and I looked around it, I found literally a ton of things that I didn't spot, and I think I was a little bit too eager to buy one. It had blue gold wheels, I just wanted it, you know, you get a bit excited. So there's a few things that need doing on the car. I've got a list, and only a couple of them bits are major. So the first one, which I did know about when I viewed it, it's got rust on the window screen. Now this, people always say this is normally because it's had a screen in it. Somebody's put a knife in there when they removed the screen, they pulled the seal and they cut the paint. Possibly, it could be, you know, it's not from a stone chip because it goes under. Somebody's tried to like touch it up because there's blue paint on the edge of the seal there, and it goes up here and it kind of starts to go around here. So the screen's got to come out. I've ordered a new seal. We'll get the new screen as and when that's required, but this needs to be repaired under here. We don't know how bad the rust is yet, and we're not going to really see until it's completely stripped out. But whatever happens, that needs to be fixed. That's the worst visual bit there. There's loads of bits on the car, like lacquer peel on the hood scoop. There's various stone chips on the car, and there's various scratches that I reckon, pay someone to do a machine cut polish, you could probably get a lot of these. You might not get rid of them, but you'll get them a lot better than they are. There's stone chips here. There's general scratches around the handle from people with rings and jewellery and stuff like that. We've got a bit of fade on trims, but you can get a lot of this stuff new still. We've got a tiny bubble on the arch, which I didn't see. It's not at the bottom there, but it's just started to blister out now. It all feels good. Doesn't seem like anything's been repaired there. There's no filler in it from what I can tell. But up behind the fuel filler cap, if you put your hand, if you open this, it's good. In here is all good. If you take this out, the inner arch is rotten. There's probably a hole in it. I can fit my fingers through it. I've had a poke round and I can fit my fingers through it. Now, annoyingly, I did not notice that when I looked at it. I kind of put my hand up and felt round, and I looked with a torch and I missed it. And I'm a little bit gutted because it wouldn't have stopped me buying the car, but I would have definitely haggled more on the price than what I did. And there's a half a dozen other things that I should have seen that I could have haggled more on the price. Whether they'd have gone with that or whether they'd have just stuck to the guns, I don't know, but I'd have tried. But anyway, I'm not disappointed with what I bought by any means. It's a 95% standard car, so we've got that issue with rust under there. I've ordered a complete, genuine Subaru inner arch, and I think I'll just use what's needed. As far as this rust is here, we're not going to get to see that properly until the wheel's off, the bumper's off, and I'm going to do that later and come back later in the video. The seals on the car, because these cars are known to be absolute rust buckets, the seals are good from the initial view without taking the skirt off, but they've been crushed. You can see up here they've been crushed where they've been jacked on, and the front is the same. But if I try and get a bit of a view up here, I don't know how you can see it. We'll get the skirt off, but the centre sections, let's try and hold the camera properly, the centre sections between the seals look okay, but where it's been jacked up at the front and the rear on both sides of the car, they've been crushed. And when they get crushed, obviously, whatever kind of sealant is on there for the factory has been kind of ruined, and then you've got rust creeping in. So I don't know how bad it is yet. Again, later today, I'm going to take these skirts off because there's a bit starting down there on that edge, and again, don't know how bad it is, but we've definitely got a little bit here on the edge of this. So this arch section is the worst. I haven't yet found any other major big rust spots on the car. There's nothing showing visibly on this arch, and this bottom bit down here actually looks pretty clean. So we'll take the skirt off and we'll have to have a look under there again. The front looks good. Again, scratches, stone chips, just the usual stuff. Front bumper's got a scuff here, which you can't feel, almost looks like it's scraped on wood or something. So that needs attention, teacup, polish, something like that. And we've got a few scuffs down here on the bumper. Now I've got the STI winglets, fog light grills, or fog light covers, and the, is it a V limited splitter to go on the front. So it'll kind of have the STI look on the front. We've got the other bit I noticed. We've got damage to the rear bumper. You can see there, here, something's hit it on here. It's cracked the paint. And then, excuse me, it's cracked the paint here. And then also, you can see it's pushed up there, which is probably where it's flexed in and popped back. Someone said to me, quite a common place for them to have damage when the bumper's been nudged. And you can see again, someone's covered that in there. So it's not drastic, but you've got them bits that need to be sorted around the car there. But in general, from, you know, just a general look at it, it looks pretty good. It didn't come with a high level spoiler. I bought that. It came with a bog standard WRX low level. Looked absolutely hideous, disgusting. Couldn't wait to get rid of it. Travelled quite a long distance. Picked up a high level spoiler. This is not an STI. This is a high level spoiler, but I found out it's off. I thought I'd been sort of done over on the spoiler, but it isn't. It's an early bug eye spoiler. It's not a blob eye or Hawkeye one. It's an earlier bug eye one, so it hasn't got the sliding T-nut bolts underneath it. It's got fixed in hex bolts, but it's a genuine spoiler. I bought a boot lid as well. Turns out I couldn't use the boot lid because it had a different lock, so I ended up drilling the holes in my boot, and that's all well and good. Now inside the car is just your typical WRX black trim. A lot of people put the STI seats in it, and I kind of would like to do that, but I'm not sure yet because I'm going to end up putting the kids' seats in the back, but I might still do it. We've got touchscreen head unit in there, but someone's done a pretty crap job of cutting out this to fit, and you still cover half the buttons, so when you're trying to push these, it don't work. And I looked up whatever make this is, and this is a £50 head unit. You know, just complete random import job. So I'll probably get rid of that at some point, but it does work. There's a reverse camera mirror hooked over the other mirror. Now it works, and this is also a like a dash cam. I haven't really looked into it yet, so I don't know if I'll leave that or I'll take it off. But the interior, you know, a bit sagging here and there, but it's not bad. And then if we move to the engine bay, let me lift this up. This is 99% bog standard, untouched. We've got a Bailey dump valve there, and it's in that sense, I've said to someone else, I said, I don't know if it's nostalgic for me, like proper 90s RS turbo style, or whether it's embarrassing driving around with a dump valve nowadays. I'm not quite sure, so I don't know whether I'll change it for a recirc or whether I'll leave that on there. But that's the only thing under the bonnet that has been touched. We've got a couple of cables there because there was an amplifier in the boot the owner took out. So I've not got an amp in the boot, so I'll probably take that out anyway. And then just everything, as far as I'm aware, is just your bog standard Subaru. They all come with just like a base coat on the inner wing sections. We're only like painted up to here, so these were always darker. It's not had a front end or anything like that. They were just dark like that from factory. They never painted inside. This one, the paint's all gone, so that needs sorted out to match the darker colour. You know, some new screws, and it's got a couple of issues mechanically. I say issues. It's got a couple of oil leaks that are the rocker cover gaskets or the cylinder head cam cover gaskets, whatever you want to call them. This side's leaking. This side's leaking a tiny bit. That side's leaking, I say a lot, a few drips, but that's quite a lot in my opinion. So that needs to be done. The cam belt, was done at 100,000, we're now on 145 or 147. So it's within its mileage, but it's well past its time in years. I think it's meant to be 147 miles or every 2 or 3 years, but I don't think it's done for 6 years. So when I got it, I popped the cover off on this side, because you can get to the plastic cover on here, just to make sure the belt's not fully cracked and looking like it's going to fail any second. It still looks quite good, but we're definitely going to get that changed. So I've bought loads of bits for it so far to sort it out. So I've got oil filter, air filter, fuel filter, rocker cover gaskets, spark plugs, Subaru coolant. Everyone says just stick with the OEM Subaru. I think it's called super coolant, the blue stuff. So we're going to give it like a full service in that sense and make sure everything's good. The cam belt kit will be OEM. You get tensioners, pulleys, cogged pulleys and all sorts of bits and pieces. So that needs to be done. And then I know mechanically it should be okay. I bought some new strut tops for it, because these are all cracked. I haven't bought the rear ones because I haven't checked them yet, but the front ones are visibly, again, probably completely standard from the factory, never been touched, so they need to be done. These wheels, can't remember if I just mentioned it, the wheels were fitted as an option from new. So I've got the original bill of sale and the wheels were fitted as an option, and these are 18-inch Pro Drive alloys, standard 4 pots on the front, 2 pots on the rear. We've got drilled and grooved discs, but the brakes feel crap. And whether they've sat for long, the discs aren't really lipped or anything, but they're not very good. I'm just used to pretty good brakes. The Fiesta's brakes, even though they're on a pedal box with no servo assist, they're awesome. These look just poor. They work, but they don't feel the greatest, especially from cold. So we're going to have a look at that. Now, the other issue that's a common one on the Subarus, I had an issue that the original keys, they worked, but they had really bad buttons and were hard to use. So some of Subaru replacement key services done me 2 of these new style keys. Flip key, nice Subaru emblem in there. And it says lock and unlock, but my key fob was the style with 1 button. So both of these buttons lock or unlock. There's just 2 of them. And I found, when I was looking at the car, we were getting water in the boot. Not a lot. And from what I've looked up, I've been in the car, I've poured water, I've had a look, and it gets through the seam sealer between the panels here. I've had a scratch around there and here. And the water gets under these seams, which is, when you Google it, it's a common issue. Under these seams, and it drips under here. Now, when I saw the water, I got in there, we had a look, and I said to the owner, when I viewed the car, it's wet, there's things in there. So the carpet was dry, but there was a patch on here and underneath. The actual spare wheel well was not full of water or completely rusted or anything like that. It still looks okay, so it's not getting a lot in there. But when I got in the car, when I got home, I actually laid in the boot and looked underneath. Someone's put a bit of, it just looks like white bathroom silicone under there to try and stop the leaks. Now, that's never going to work. If anything, that's worse, because if you seal it from the inside, the water's going to sit between the panels. So you're going to need to seal it from the top. So, excuse me, when I get the rust done on the front screen, which I'm going to have to send that in to someone, because I'm not going to take the screen out here and do bits and pieces. So I'm going to let a body shop do the rust around the screen, and I'm also going to get the rear screen taken out, get that taken out completely. I've ordered a new trim here, I've ordered all new clips so these can come out, and then I'm going to get them to seal up, check there's no rust under here further back that we can't see, because I think if you leave that much longer, that's what you're going to end up with. If water's sitting under there, they do rot away, and I've seen pictures on the internet of these completely rotted. I think this one's okay, it's not been too bad, and it's caught early enough, so we're going to get the rear screen out and get that sealed up. And then, yeah, we'll just go from there. So I wanted to do the video of the car. I like the car, I like the machines, but wanted to do some video of the car stuff because I find it interesting. Some of you guys might find it interesting, but I didn't want to do 2 channels. So apologies if you're only here for the machines. You know, don't want anyone to unsubscribe to the channel, but I also don't want to do 2 channels. It's not like I'm earning a load of money from the channel. If I'm lucky, I'll get a couple of quid every sort of 3 months or 6 months. And I pay £12 a month for my YouTube subscription just to not have adverts. And it doesn't even cover that. So Like, I don't want to lose people from the channel, but I don't want to do 2 channels. So if you don't like the car content, unfortunately, you know, apologies, but it is what it is. So today, I brought the car in. I'm going to jack it up in the air, and I'm going to remove the skirts today and the rear bumper, because I want to have a look around that area down there for rust, and also have a look at the rest of the seals, and I also want to take the bumper off and have a look under here at this big hole we've got in the inner arch a little bit better. So I'm not going to end the video there, we're going to keep it, so come back in a minute. I'll get the car in here, we'll get the bumper off, and we'll have a look, and we'll both find out what we've got at the same time and see how bad it is. So fingers crossed. Okay, so we're back, and we've stripped a few bits off the car. As you can see, the bumper's been removed there, and the side skirts are on the floor. Nothing special about the bumper. There should be a bolt that goes in there that was broken off. So this side had a cable tie on it. You see there, this has got a thread for a bolt and that little nogginy bit. So I might see if I can replace these. I'm pretty sure you can still get them. And this bar here, I think if you got new clips, you'd probably be all right. But you can see it's a bit flaked away with rust under there. It isn't really worth blasting and doing it. I think a new one is around £50 and could clean up that. As you can see the bracket there. This is for that rear view camera I said the car's got in the mirror. So, excuse me, we got the side skirts off. We've got the bumper off. Now you can see just down here, the jack's in. I've got it on axle stands, but I'm just paranoid. I like to have the jack under it as well. These are the brackets from when it had, I said it had a tow bar. So they go down there and they're all bolted in. I can't see how I'm going to get them off because they've been on there forever. Now it makes no difference to me on the car, so they may just get left. I might put a bit of, you know, it's not going to rust. It's obviously 10mm thick steel or whatever, but they're on there. We've got like, I don't know, like random, it's like underseal sprayed. It's like a thick wax oil. It comes off and the paint's good underneath it. So maybe that was sprayed when they put these on years ago. I have no idea. Our bumper support brackets are a bit grotty, but they're still there. They're still screwed in place. Obviously headlights out. It's good around there. We've got a spot there under the tailgate seal, and we've got a couple of spots here on the spot weld that have started to get attacked, but it's not gone through, so that'll be a wire wheel job clean up around there. Same under there. It's actually okay. It's solid. The back end is solid. Now on the passenger side, see, I'm getting old now. I don't want to kneel down on the floor. I want to kneel down on a mat. Now on the passenger side, in there, bit of dirt, but it looks okay. It's not grotty. Down here, it's still solid. It's not looking too bad. Now I've took it had them plastic arch trim protectors. Some people, you know, they do look nice with the little bit of black trim around there, but other people say obviously it traps in all the dirt and then it goes rusty. Now you can see the paint started to bubble there. Let's get the torch. Getting a little bit of bubbling on the paint, but the actual panel itself, you can see it's a bit grotty there, but it's not rusty. That will need a wire brush back and a bit more underseal, but the panel, I can try and see there, the panel itself is still intact, which is good. Now down here, you're starting to get a little bit questionable down in there. Now I can't poke a hole through that bit, but it is getting to the point where the end of this could be done, and then I've removed the side skirts, and now obviously you can see where it's been squashed. Now if you look along down there in the middle, they're actually pretty good. You've got a bit of surface rust along where the fixings go, but you can see there where it's been squashed, and then you can see here I stabbed it with a screwdriver and it's gone here. So if I want to be finicky, I could order the outer seals and I could probably cut below these holes to keep them. And I want to keep away from the door, because if I do this, I'll probably do this bit myself. I'll cut along there and I'll probably go to this first hole there, or maybe go along here. So I'd probably replace that sort of section, get it welded in. Now I did wonder about inner seals, and you can't seem to get them, but when I've had a look, I have seen some for sale, but they seem quite expensive for what they are. When you look under here, it's not really bad on the inner side of it, it's more the outer side. Obviously it's a little bit here, and it's starting to go a bit there, and then I'm guessing when you get into this inner arch section, you'll just make up like an end cap piece to go in, because you would cut this away, and if it's no good there, if it doesn't clean up well, you'll make your own piece. So quite easy to do. And if you end up doing your seals further down here, this piece is just a nice straight angle with probably a 45 bend on it, which is where they're welded together. But you can see down there, my one is all good to round about the middle of the diff support. So around about 12 inches I'd probably cut back. 12 to 18 inches I'd go back and get rid of that. So I think that's what I'm going to do. The rest of it under here, you know, some of the actual big metal brackets are a bit scabby, but it's pretty good. Floor pans are pretty good. A few dings where it's been jacked up. Unfortunately, you're going to get that after 20 years. Hence why the seals are crushed. And if we go further down the front end, now obviously I haven't taken the wing off because the car's not fully up in the air, and I'm putting this back together today to take it home again, so I'm not here to strip it off completely because I've got no room in the workshop. But again, you can see the front has been crushed, but it's not actually that bad. And it may be a case of this section's might not even be worth doing. That might be a case of straightening that out and resealing. The bottom of the wings are good where it unbolts. Nothing looks rotten there or down the gap, but you won't know fully until you take it off the car. Let's have a look underneath down the front. So from the underside down here, you can see it's got a little bit, but it's pretty good. I've seen loads worse. Right, literally. And then from there back, trying to get the light on it, from there back, it's all good. So the front on the passenger side is minimal. And again, the rest under here doesn't look too bad at all. Right, so that's the passenger side. Pretty good. Not much else to say about the passenger side. Obviously we said about the few spots around the boot. We already know about the seams around the boot that I said about before, along these joins, places like that. I think it's just been caught in time, all that sort of stuff. Now when we get to the driver's side, this is where it was a bit worse. So you can see there, it just started to bubble. And that bit there, I think that's more of a spot. It's a bit muddy still. I'm not too sure about that bit there. It looks more like where the bumper's rubbed on it. But the metal itself, again, it isn't bad. So I think I've got lucky with the outer arch. Down here, bit of grot, bit of surface on there, but none of it's rotten. Down inside there, obviously there's more crud down by the factory sealer, but not bad. Bit grotty on the surface in here, and wallop. That is what I just dug out. Now, it's not, you'd have to go a bit further than that. I can try and get the light to stay, and so I can talk at the same time. So you'd need to go up, right up here. Not quite to the joint, but I think you'd want to go up here, right out, and almost down completely to this edge here. I reckon. You might be able to keep the edge, I'm not too sure. I'd like to stay away from the outer panel to save painting of it, but I'm not sure how far I'd have to go back. But here, obviously I've pushed all the bit that's gone, and we've still got rough edges that need sorting. This was a separate hole. I don't know why, it had a rubber bung in it. But here is now, mind I don't cut myself, here is now all solid apart from this bit up here. See, cut myself there, stabbing the metal. So you can see the section we've got, and like I said, I've actually, let's just change camera, I've actually bought the entire inner arch panel, which it just doesn't need, but I thought because of the shape there where the filler goes in and the threaded bits of the screws and blah blah blah, I'll replace the whole lot. And also you can see here, this is the filler neck for the fuel tank, and these tabs, when I went to unbolt them, all the bolts snapped off because they're rotten, and I'd say it wouldn't be long before areas like that will start rusting through, and then you'll have leaking when you have got too much, when you've got a certain level of fuel in the car. So I've bought a almost new one of those off MB Developments. I see him for sale on Facebook. He had one that was literally, still had the sticker on it and everything, so a little bit cheaper than brand new. So I bought one of them, and we've got the inner arch panel, so that needs sorting. Again, outer arch, if I can, on the inside, if I can cut it away from here so we don't burn onto this paint, I'll get away with a repair there. Now, lower down, the side sill on the outside of the car, looking good at the main section. You can see where we're crushed. Same sort of thing as the other side, been jacked up on a million times. And then you can see this end is actually rotten through. So not loads of it, but you're going up here a bit as well. But again, I've got this arch panel, so I can use another bit of the inner arch that comes down here. And I think we'll be doing an outer seal higher up on this one. You can see these two have started to come apart. You can see the rest of the panel here is actually good. That's okay. So this one needs a repair sort of from across there downwards. And then again, this one's a bit further down. But if you, I don't know if I'll be able to see with the camera, but if you look inside the seal, once you get past the main bit, the inner seal is actually really nice. So I'd say that it's bad, probably again up to this first hole. So I think it would be an ideal situation on this one to cut out about here, come up, leave the holes in the top and come along here, and then on this one maybe go right up. Might have to come right up to the actual lip up here. Now, I've never done body work. Obviously I've done welding and fabrication. I can weld stainless, mild steel, alley, MIG, TIG. None of that's a problem. The main part of the seal along there is good. Little wire wheel and a reseal, and that'll be okay. And then coming down to the front again, bottom of the front wing where it bolts on looks good, but again we're grotty in the area where people have jacked. So this side on the front is a bit worse, and again I'd probably want to get the wing off and cut back probably to about here, and then we could get rid of all that and straighten it back out. And I'm not sure if we'd need to do a bit on the underside or whether we wouldn't. Again, it doesn't look, let's try and get a bit of light on there, doesn't look too bad, but it's obviously started to separate and it's going to get water in there because it's been crushed. But overall, I'm, let's just turn the camera around. Overall, I'm actually, I'd love it if it wasn't rusty at all, but overall I'm actually quite happy with that. I was expecting worse. I was worried this panel would be completely rotten all down here or all under the lip once I took the little arch liner piece off, but it isn't. What do you guys reckon? Do you think that's done all right, in the sense of it's the very first Subaru I've ever had, very first Subaru I've ever looked at, you know? I've not even, bar the 22B that a friend had years ago when they were still relatively new, that I didn't exactly get involved with and crawl around. I only saw him when he come out sometimes. I've never looked around one other than seeing pictures on the internet. So I think it seems like it's quite a good example. Or I've got, not lucky, I just haven't picked a completely rotten one. If you look in there, all looks okay to me. We've got a bit of grot starting there. But again, I think everything's been caught early enough. Now this is the one that's rotted out. So you can see, try and get you to see in there. I don't think I will because the camera's on the wrong side of the camera. You can see the rusty section that I've cut a hole in. But again, I think where that seal is a bit brown there is just where the water's come in and run down. But I think it's pretty good. One area I have found that I forgot to mention when I was on this side is right up at the strut top there. I've scratched it all back as best I can and it's still solid, but it's started. I think, again, I've been lucky. We've caught that early enough that we can drop that suspension, scrape it all back, wire wheel it to bare metal and clean that up without any welding. But the inner bit, the people say about up on the back side, up the back here, is solid. Because I've seen lots of pictures and videos of those being really bad. The whole kind of strut tower, as you'd call it, being gone and needing replacing. But this one is the same. This one is good around the top. It's not a problem. It's like someone, or at some point, it has had like an underseal put on there that's flaked off over the years. So somebody looked after it. Out there, you can see bits starting to get a bit of surface on them, but they're all scraping off. And we are still solid. Oh, let's just clip the receiver back onto the camera. Yeah, so we're starting to scrape back, but it's all solid. So we've got seals to do, being fussy, especially the driver's side one at the back. It's a shame really because it's such a minimal amount. A little bit more care and that one would have been okay. Obviously the worst bit is that inner rear arch. We've definitely got to do that. A few bumper brackets, might replace these if I can get them. I can't imagine they're going to be much money, but there's no point. Our sandblaster doesn't work anymore, or I blast them and get them coated myself. But I think if they're cheap enough, I'll just replace them. Replace clips. There's clips broken and missing on here. It didn't have the proper clips on there. But everything else, like the boot, the light seals and stuff like that, all seem okay. So yeah, we're going good so far. So anyway, that's going to be the end of the video. It's already longer than I thought it would be. Hope you enjoyed watching. We're going to do a bit more on this. Until I can get the car in to do the seals, I need these machines gone. So going back to the machine side, if anyone's ready and wants to buy the VF1, I want to get one of these gone and get the car in. So yeah, hit me up if you're interested in a machine, but stay tuned because we will be doing more videos on the Subaru. It'll be going to a body shop to do the front screen rust area and stuff like that, and little bits and pieces of paint. But as and when I get time and I've got space, we'll be doing them seals and the areas at the back, and maybe I'll do the inner arch myself when the panel arrives, but we'll have a look at it. But yeah, cheers for watching, see you again soon.